Okay, so I'm measuring the head and I'm creating 8 sections so that I can make sure that my figure is going to be the correct proportion. I'm starting with a box form figure, so I have something to look at. It's going to help me with my drawing, and it's sort of good practice. So I'm drawing the ribs now, and I'm going to draw a whole space, but you can see I'm already in half a space, so I'm going down to half a space, but that would be equal to a whole space. And then I'm creating, or a whole head, and now I'm creating the top where the neck attaches to the shoulders, and this figure will be at an angle, so I'm drawing that side. Okay, there's the spine going through, so in this section, that's the only thing, only skeleton. And then you have the hips, so I'm drawing a box that is the same width um, as the shoulders, because your hips are generally the same width as your shoulders. And that box is one space, one head space. I'm using circles for the joints because it's going to help me to attach my arms, which will be cylinders, and my legs. But I'll be able to rotate around those circles so that I'll really be able to get any kind of pose I want. So you can see how I can rotate the cylinder around the joint, and it just really helps with bending. I'm using cylinders and circles again for the arms and the hands. Okay, now that you have your box form figure, I'm going to use it to draw a three-dimensional figure. I'm going to use it as a model, and I'm going to use more of a sketchy line. I'm thinking about the width of the shoulders, that they need to be wider than the head, and I'm thinking about how the neck comes down onto a plane, that these things are not flat, that the body overlaps the arm a little bit. So I'm trying to draw that, and I'm trying to show the contour, the curving inside the body as well as the curving on the outside of the body. So even though my lines are coming in to the body, that's okay because it shows wrinkles, it shows curving. It's a little different from the way the Egyptian drawing is done. And I'm doing some shading on that side since that's the side you can see, and also on the shoulders, which is going to make it more three-dimensional. Okay, so you notice I'm shading the side that the body's sort of turned toward you, and it kind of creates more of a three-dimensional look. And I'm curving my lines with the curve of the body. That's called contour. And I'm also curving, so the shading lines I'm curving, but I'm also curving lines to show like maybe where the shirt is around the body, around the waist of the body. And so I'm using a curving motion there. Now I'm drawing the hair, and when you draw hair, you want to draw the shape of the hair. You don't want to draw like lines for the hair. So I'm kind of putting a shape on there. And I'm just going to indicate the face because this isn't really about the face, it's more about the figure. So I'm just using some lines and kind of that shadow to make it look more three-dimensional. And I'll probably indicate fingers too, but it's not about hands and face, it's really about the whole figure. So notice those contour lines. Okay. So now I'm drawing from looking at somebody, and I'm still using the heads because I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to need my waist to come down to here. So I'm still using the heads as a measurement, but look at those contour lines. That's how the shirt curves around the person's body. And I'm observing that. So it is really easier to draw that kind of thing. The real details of the drawing. Those are the curves around the sleeves. If you're looking at somebody, so if you can find somebody to pose for you, that would be great. Now he's sitting in a chair and the legs are coming out towards you. So in this case, the proportion is not going to be the same as I showed you in the box figure with the 8 sections, because these legs are going to be foreshortened. They're coming out toward you. They're not going to appear as long as they do when the figure is standing. So those knees are coming out towards you. It's a very hard thing to draw. It's called foreshortening, and it just means that the leg gets shorter, basically. And I'm using very sketchy marks, and I'm actually not using an eraser because students really rely heavily on erasers. And here's my contour on the outside, and also the cuff of the pants contour, how it curves, and the contour of the pants. But I don't use an eraser. I use sketchy lines. I kind of blend the lines into the figure if I don't think they're right, and I kind of use them as shading or just as extra marks that just appear and show the journey. So you don't have to erase, but if you want to, go ahead. Now I'm doing the shading on the body, and now that I have all the contour, and again I'm shading that same side because I'm going to use that other figure I drew in the scene with this figure. So I want to shade them consistently with both the same sides being shaded.
Sitting there so still, just staring down those cans. I'm very immature, so that's the time I should probably start making spitballs and shooting them at you from one side and see if I can hit you right on the cheek. Kidding, kidding. What a fine young man.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to have to take it into iMovie and take all the sound off. I mean, I rather would have not. But...
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were recording.
Sorry, I had to take it in there anyway. I'm going to have to do that.
Wait, sorry, I was stretching my feet.
No, that's okay. You don't have to be totally crazy.
I thought you were doing it.
Oh, yeah. I was. But you don't have to worry about being super still. I didn't put you in your chair yet.
Yeah, you have to drop the chair.
I know. Well, otherwise.
But then I can rip onto me down, right? Or be soft on me. So you can see how like where the chair goes. Just in practice with those skills. Huh? No.
So now I'm going to add my other figure to the drawing and some background details. So you can tell the figure that I did looking and the figure that I did kind of from the box form figure. So you'll get a more realistic look if you can look at somebody. But people with lots of practice, they can draw really without looking. I would like to get to that point. So I'm doing some details like a window where I'm just indicating some stuff outside the window. I'm going to do a little table in between the two people and put a cup on there. So if you don't want to do the Egyptian scene, you could do a scene like this where you're doing it more in the Roman style where you have contour and you have shading and um, you have more everyday activities. And I'm doing some floorboards and making sure that they kind of go at an angle so they look correct perspective. And there you have it. I can paint that.